So for those of you that don't know, community in this space, also for those on Zoom, let me know if I'm talking loud enough. Can they hear me, Chelsea? Perfect. Okay, just wanted to double check this technology is an issue here. My name is Coker Gaber. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I currently serve as a program coordinator in the Student Center for Social Justice and Identity Office. It's essentially kind of like Vanderbilt Multicultural Center. I've had the privilege to work with NAIA over the past couple of years since I've been here. They've been a phenomenal community partner, whether it's attending powwows, which is beautiful, or partnering with our Native and Indigenous graduation recognition ceremony, or Native and Indigenous Heritage Month programming. So we always find ways to plug in and to get support. So I'm super excited to have the privilege to be able to come to this event tonight, learn more about our wonderful local artists and ways that I can also uplift and amplify the Native and Indigenous community here within Vanderbilt. I get the privilege of introducing our wonderful Shayna Hobbs, who is currently a art and education lead at NAIA. Again, a phenomenal partner, but I know she's going to kick us off with being the host for our wonderful Native Artisan Renaissance webinar, which is our first one. So lots of words today, lots of things, but we're really excited to kick it off. So if y'all wouldn't mind joining me in welcoming Shayna.
Hi, we're so happy to have you guys for our first ever webinar with our Native Artisan Cohort. We're excited about this program. This is funded by the Tennessee Arts Commission. They have given us a grant which allowed us to create this program, and we searched for a handful of Native artisans. We have 10 of them. We have 3 in person tonight. And we have 3 joining us online. Really excited to just share some deep discussions with you guys and share a little bit about what it means to be a Native artist. Before we move into everything, I'd like to read a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that Nashville, Tennessee occupies the traditional lands of the Yuchi and Muskogee peoples, the ancestral hunting lands of the Cherokee, Shawnee, Choctaw, and Chickasaw peoples. Today, these people no longer have nation borders in the state of Tennessee after the Indian Removal Act of 1830 led to the forced removal of southern tribes to the west of the Mississippi River. In particular, Nashville resides on land ceded in the Treaty of Woodlawn. A little about NAIA. So our organization started about 40 years ago. So Native Americans here locally realized that there was a need to help natives in the area. As most of you guys know, I mean, right here, there are no reservations here in Tennessee, but there's still a native population of people that do need services and need help. So Ray Emanuel is the director, executive director, and Sally Wells is our president. They founded the organization over 40 years ago as a way to help natives in the area. And we continue to help. We have a powwow that we do every year. We invite you out to that. It's at Longford State Park. It's in October. And then we have started some more events with this Native Artisan Cohort. This is the first one that we're kicking that off with. So we're excited that you're here with us. So first, I would love to introduce the cohort, and I'll actually have you guys introduce yourself. If you'll just share with us your name, your tribal affiliation, and your art form. Let's start with here.
Yeah, my name is Justin Miller. I'm from the Stockbridge, Muncie, Bandit, Mohican tribe. My art form that I've been working on in the cohort is woodland style flute, and kind of paired with storytelling, but primarily the flute. Yeah.
My name is Trenton Wheeler. I'm from the Blackfeet Nation in Montana, and I am a part of the cohort demonstrating my traditional Northern Plains grass dancing, and otherwise I live here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm a music producer and content producer by day, dancer by chance.
Hi, I'm Charles Robinson from the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. live here in the Nashville area, and the art form that I'm sharing is the storytelling. And that comes in various forms, including dancing, the power dancing, which I also do. So thank you for being part of this. Thank you.
All right, ladies, Sonya, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Halito Sahochafuat Sonya Monk. That is hello, my name is Sonya Monk. I come from the original homeland of the Choctaw people, which is Mississippi. And I'm a part of a tribe there called the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians. And I have moved not too long ago here to Ripley, Tennessee, which is about 8 minutes north of Henning, which there's actually a reservation land of 100 acres that belongs to the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians. And there resides over 20 homes, which is about an accumulated of 200 Mississippi Choctaw affiliates that live here in Tennessee. So we have trust land in Tennessee. And my art form for this cohort is to demonstrate the corn husk doll. We call that Tachi Hakshop Washoha. And I guess on the next cohort or cultural workshop, I'll be demonstrating more of what I'll be displaying, like the Choctaw beadwork and the Choctaw dress. So I appreciate being here, and I thank everyone, Tennessee Arts Commission, NAYA, which is the Native American Indian Association, for having me. Hachiya kuke.
Thank you, Sonya. Dayini, would you like to introduce yourself? Can you turn your microphone on? We can't hear you. It's like she might do frozen. Are you there, Dayini? Okay, let's go. Nancy, would you like to introduce yourself while we wait on Dayini?
Absolutely. Shio Nashi Tondisti Dagwado, Wayohi de Buena Shan Zalagi, Anako Dua. Hello, my name is Nancy Pheasant. I live in the Wolftown community of Cherokee, North Carolina. I'm a member of the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Nation. I'm part of this cohort to demonstrate and pass on my knowledge of shell carving specifically, but I am a multimedia artist in Native American arts. So I actually do a lot of other things as well, not just shell carving, but shell carving is where my passion is. So thank you.
Nancy, well, if Dayini joins us again, we'll let her reintroduce herself. But I'm just gonna dive into the questions of you guys. So, the first question is, what sparked your initial inspiration to embrace the role of a Native creator? And what led you to believe that it was essential, particularly now, to join this cohort and to play a part in advancing education about Native cultures and artistic expression? Justin.
Sure. Yeah, so, I've been around the flute as a tradition, as an art form since I was an infant. And so I really got my start, just from being around, my dad, our dad who played music. And, but it's interesting, I was talking to someone about this the other day. I didn't really, reconnect with it until like fully until I had my own son. And so, I think we've talked about a little bit in this cohort, like, when it comes to art forms and ways of knowing, ways of being, the element of intergenerational exchange of information and culture that way, and how this sort of cross-generational interaction, I guess, and passing of knowledge is a big part of that. So I think for me, that's an important aspect of, for me personally, connecting to my family that kind of comes before and after me. And so, yeah, you could call it preserving, you know, I would maybe say it's more like stewarding or gardening almost, because it can grow beyond where it's been too, I think. Culture is dynamic, especially Native culture. And so what's important to me as a Native person and a Native artist is sort of that dynamic element. And so I think that's what, at this particular moment too, what's so important about engaging with these art forms and sharing them is demonstrated for people, non-natives and natives alike, that our culture is dynamic and animate. It's not something that's just reserved on a shelf or behind glass at a museum. And so for me personally, yeah, those are the aspects that are important to me.
Thank you. Trenton, what about you? Why was it important for you to connect with this cohort, and what does it mean for you to help advance education about Native culture?
I grew up in Arlington, Texas, which is the verb of verbs, the largest city in America without public transportation. And so my father was born on the Blackfeet Reservation, and so there's a huge jump between our two generations in experience. But starting from a young age, my dad introduced me to our culture and to the song, the dance, the sights, the smells, you name it. From a young age, I was attending powwows and getting to be a part of that. And so growing up, I was passionate about many different artistic forms. But the one thing that was distinctly connected to the Blackfeet people, the Northern Plains tribes, was grass dancing. And as I began in my older years to learn and understand better the challenges and the resilience that has made it possible for me to be here today, to be able to grass dance. I think that was really a big motivator for me, was hearing my dad tell me stories about his grandmother saying, leave this place, don't tell anyone your name, cut your hair, hydrate him. And he did not take that. So he continues to do traditional, he's a traditional dancer this day, and Northern traditional. And in that, there's a little phrase that I use when I describe one of the core reasons why I dance. And it's, I dance for those who came before, and I dance for those who obeyed. Because it wasn't just that there was dancers that have done this, and I'm now carrying the tradition. There were songs and dances and artworks and craftsmanship that was forbade and beaten out of children, taken from their cultures, demanded out of them. And so I think there's a part of me that now, being mixed indigenous myself, one reason why I have a heavy burden in my heart to carry on this tradition and and to better learn the language and to better learn these ways, is knowing that the other parts of my identity have not been threatened, whereas that these ways in fact have been challenged and were attempted to be eradicated. and remove from existence. And so, in that way, I care passionately to make sure that 7 generations from now will know what a grass dance is. Yeah, I grew up hearing stories. My uncles and family members would tell stories, and so it's already really just enjoyed hearing all the stories, especially growing up out in the country. And it was just a natural progression. I just figured all little kids experienced this growing up. Come to find out that's not always the case, right? So when about 30 years ago, a friend of mine here in Nashville asked me to come speak to his son's kindergarten class about Native American heritage or culture. And when I went there, they introduced me as a real live Indian. And I thought, wow, this is going to be interesting. And so I began to share, and I began to integrate some of the stories that I had been told as a kid. And I found out that it captivated the children. They embraced it. They wanted to hear more. So we just began to pursue that and found a real enjoyment in that. And then we've had some neat opportunities for storytelling and in music videos or movies and different things like that. And so that has just kind of added to the whole storytelling that is a part of who we are.
Thank you, Charles. It's beautiful. Nancy, are you still with us?
I am.
Can you share with us what drew you to this culture, and what drew you to creating art as a Native?
You're breaking up as far as your audio, so I'm thinking what you asked me is what drew me to this cohort, and then also what drew me to the art form that I will be demonstrating. Basically, I was growing up. Roy, you can hear that. Growing up, my father early on took us to a lot of different powwows. As a young child, if we wanted to have spending money or anything, we would create our own crafts to be able to sell at the powwows. It's kind of unique because even here in Cherokee, early on, the tribe or the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indians had already set everything up to be more of like a tourist destination. So even though we are considered a Indian reservation, we're also considered a Qualla boundary, and because of our sovereignty, it did take quite a bit for families to be able to sustain themselves year round. And for a lot of us, or a lot of the older generations, that's how they grew up providing for their own families, was to create different Native American arts and then turn around and sell them for their income. So a lot of the families, a lot of these Native arts has been passed down from generation to generation. So a lot of my art is greatly influenced by my father, but then I've also had mentors throughout my life that has also helped to steer me in very specific directions when it comes to creating my own art. And I do a lot of different things. I also do a lot of sewing. So I make ribbon skirts, ribbon shirts that are used in a lot of our ceremonial dances, as well as I create and make 1800 century style traditional clothing that a lot of the Cherokees here in Cherokee, North Carolina, wear to this day, especially if we're doing demonstrations or going out and doing presentations and stuff. It's almost common for us to wear traditional attire I do a lot of storytelling, so I do a lot of presentations at area colleges, and I go to different schools, and I set up for historical associations, and also do those types of presentations. So it's vital that I know how to create the clothing that I plan on wearing when I do go out on those events. So I think just from my art over the years and what I have put out there into the world um, is what led me to really be passionate about joining this group as a cohort, especially being able to show more of what actual or true Native American art actually is. So I'm excited. I look forward to the workshops that you guys have planned and the seminar. And yeah, this is great. This has been awesome. So thank you.
Dayini, would you like to go next and share with us?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Well, introducing myself, Shio, Dayini, Dagwado. Hello, my name is Dayini. I'm from the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, and I'm from Cherokee, North Carolina. So I do finger weaving, baskets, pottery, and beadwork. So that's my art forms, and I'm gonna go on to the next question. Like, what drew me to the cohort is that I am like, my life goal is to become a Cherokee language teacher. So whenever I seen that it was like had some educational aspects to it, that's what really drew me into the cohort was because I would like to improve myself, like as far as my teaching skills go. So I thought that this would be perfect. But can you guys hear me? Like I'm so nervous. Yeah, okay. Um, so whenever I was about 13 or 14, I started working at the Econo-Lefty Indian Village, and they do this mentor-mentee program, and it's just they take high school kids and they start them out at the village, and they learn all the crafts that they have there. They learn the tour guideline, and then they learn either the square grounds, or the council house. So that's how I started out. Is I learned the like entire village, and I have been up there for about 11 years off and on. So that's what got me started into crafting and getting into my cultures because I joined that mentee mentor program.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Okay, we have Sonya. Sonya, are you there?
I'm here. Okay, what was the first question?
So just what drew you to the cohort and what drew you to being a Native creative?
Okay, so what drew me to the cohort? Shayna, you know that answer. You came to Henning, Tennessee one day and you introduced yourself. You and oh my gosh, I forgot her name. Is it Courtney? Is it Courtney?
Who came with? I
Chelsea.
came on my own. I don't remember who came with me. I think I just came on my own. Oh, Chelsea. Chelsea came with me.
Chelsea. Yes, yes. I knew it started with a C. So you and Chelsea came and explained Native American Indian Association to the entire group. And we are in the uh, moving forward direction to establish ourselves as a nonprofit organization. So then our little community, even though it is established by the Mississippi Band of Choctaws, the resources doesn't come up north to help us on a lot of things. And so we end up having to, help one another. And so when I moved to this area, I learned about this community almost like 2 years ago. So I'm also new to Tennessee, new to this area. And so when Shayna and Ms. Chelsea came and introduced themselves about the organization, then I was just like, oh, wow, this is an opportunity for me to share everything that I have learned over time. And I haven't been given the opportunity to share that knowledge for quite some time. And so now that my kids are grown and I'm basically starting a new chapter of my life with my husband. We're here, one, for military reasons, and two, because he's working for the government, and so do I. I work at Department of Energy, but they have us here for the time being, and I wanted to help the Choctaws in this area. And so when you showed up, and I was just like, I'm there. I'm ready to share my knowledge, whatever I can, just be that resource for you guys. So anyhow, the first thing I wanted to talk about was definitely the corn husk doll. What inspired me for that was definitely as a child. I was part of this whole crew of little kids running around in the communities, and we ended up in a older woman's garden, corn actually. And so, I keep telling everybody we're the original children of the corn, because we were always playing in her cornfield. And, whether it was from the very beginning to harvest time, we were always in her field doing something, playing tag or, just being kids. And she just took a interest in me, I believe, because I just wanted to be around her, and out of respect too, we were not, messing up her garden or anything. We were actually contributing. So she always had good crops every year, and we were also a part of that effort to harvest her corn. And so the leftover that she wasn't wanting to sell, because she made enough for herself for the year, and that's how she sustained herself. The extra went to those that were in need. And so we were also like her messengers. She would, put a bag full of corn and say, hey, go take it to so-and-so's house, or go take it to so-and-so's house. And, we're running maybe like 2-3 miles away from home, delivering these things for her. So we had an awesome opportunity, to learn firsthand, not about culture or tradition, but life way. That's exactly where she was, raising us up to appreciate and show respect to not only to our elders, but also to our community at large. Be that messenger, be that deliverer, always be ready to help. And so one of the things that she would spend time with me was I would spend time with her all day practically, and she's cooking for me as a grandmother, or pukni is what I would call her. And she would take care of me for the day, and she used to make me some dolls made out of corn husk. And so earlier I was mentioning that it's called tanchi hakshup. Tanchi is corn, hakshup is the silk of the corn. And then she would just twist it and bend it and tie it and dress it up, and she would present it to me. And one of the stories that she told me was about the corn woman story. And in that story was about two hunters. And I'll continue to divulge that story, but the whole essence of the corn woman story was that, this is how corn was brought to the Choctaw people and our sister tribe, which is the Chickasaw, who lived up in the northern lands above us, which was west of Tennessee, in this area of Henning, Memphis area. And so corn woman was very important to us. Corn was also important to us, that every year we would have green corn ceremony, and we still celebrate that, but not so much in the way that our tradition that our ceremonies allow us to. But we still appreciate knowing that corn is a gift to the Native people, and we celebrate it in a way that we have the corn dads, and we have this whole gathering of people from that, no matter what community they're from. And for the Mississippi Banna Choctaw Indians, we have 9 communities, and so each of these communities are pretty large. And so we have family members that are coming as so far away, even as far as Tennessee, coming down to celebrate once, as a family. And the whole purpose of the green corn ceremony is, bring your family, reflect on those that passed, but, honor them that have passed on, just like Sadie Vaughn was my pony. I honor her, and then appreciate what I have now, and then look to the future. So we work together, moving forward into the new future with our younger generation, get into learn about their culture, learn about their ways, and hopefully, I get that kid, hopefully over here in Henning, Tennessee, I'll have that one child that just bears into my hip and wants to spend time with me, so I can share the knowledge that I have, that I received, and pass it on forward. So yeah, I appreciate this whole opportunity, and I look forward to everything that Naya has to, ask out of me, because I'm ready to share. Thank you.
So beautiful. I really appreciate you sharing that. You kind of touched on a couple things that are going to lead us into these next questions. Sometimes who we are as a child kind of gives way to what we become as an adult. For you guys, as you look back at your younger childlike self, were there clues about what you are doing now? And then also segueing into that, are there people who influenced you when you were a child that impacted you into choosing your native art form?
Yeah. So for me, I guess I touched on this a little bit, but I think it's funny, the flute for me for a long time, until I really had my own son, was something that I really, in many ways, only associated with like performance. My dad is a performance artist as well as a knowledge bearer, but the way the world perceived him in many ways is as like an artist and like a performer. So in my little mind, I just associated that with like, oh, to play the flute, I had to like be a performer, right? Like do that for money or do it for claps and stuff like that. And so I think I shied away from it in many ways, because I'm kind of a reserved person and don't particularly love attention, a lot of attention. And so, yeah, my journey with the flute and why this cohort has been really healing for me in many ways, and the flute has been healing for me, is that aspect of what a little bit of what we're all talking about is like this educational aspect to it. And so for me, for it to be something that's a way to share and talk about ideas, and not just be something that, again, is like you're the real live, like a circus trick or something like that. But I also, in a subversive way, kind of like to engage with those aspects of humor when it comes to Native culture and art as well, and sort of demystify things in a way. Mystify, but also demystify and break that barrier that exists sometimes for people, right? Where they're like, oh, this, tell me, what is this, what's the significance of this? And it's like, well, it may not have any significance. I don't know. Beauty is its own significance, and music isn't always a real specific significance. And so, yeah, that childlike aspect, I think, of engaging with art form is what can make it beautiful. It's like you can engage with something with a beginner's mind, or a sort of like a childlike aspect where it's not real strict and you're playing it wrong and you didn't do this note right. It's something that comes from within, and it's a spiritual thing as well as a physical thing. So yeah, that's a long, complicated answer, but yeah, inspiration for me would be with the flute would be definitely my dad, sharing his knowledge with me and passing that on, from the elders that he learned from. And then also definitely influenced by, in a weird way, my son, when he was a baby. The things that I would play on the flute that would calm him, be like, oh, that's good, I'll try that somewhere, I'll do that. And so these natural sounds. So, yeah.
Right, it shows my ability.
I think from a pretty young age, it was pretty obvious that I was the one not for team sports and the one not for certain extracurricular activities. I spent a lot of my time either, climbing in our front yard tree, collecting acorns, but when I wasn't doing it, just getting lost in the woods, I was always expressing myself artistically, singing, dancing, and from a young age, my parents saw that and I got involved in everything from theater and musicals, and so they poured into me in so many ways. My father began teaching me how to grass dance when I was 6 years old, and so it's deeply ingrained in who I am, and the dance became a center point for me. And I've worked most of my career doing some kind of performance. I was a touring musician for a decade, and so, but it wasn't the performance that drew to me the same way that the stage has. Starting around maybe 9 or 10, I began doing educational programming with my father and a troupe of other dancers and singers. And so we would go from school to organization, and educate them on Indigenous culture. And so we wouldn't just demonstrate the songs and the dances, much as Charles has pointed out, the songs, the dances, all of these things are part of the stories. And so realizing that there was this power by being in regalia in front of others, there was a certain command that was given. And it wasn't about, it wasn't about the clap or the praise, but it was about the captive audience being able to, from a young age, capture my peers' attention by saying, let me tell you something about who and where I come from. And so in that, there was this draw, this appeal, and that goes back a little bit to why I'm part of this cohort, because education has been a central part of my journey with dance. We did the powwow thing, we went to powwows, but I was not heavily on the powwow circuit. However, my mother, who's not Indigenous, was really involved in our education. She was really involved with PTA. She's a proud double lifetime membership of PTA, and she did a lot of programming for our district. And she helped get our little program and our troupe into a lot of schools in the North Texas area. And I'm fond of the fact that I would get excused absences from school because I got to go to other schools to do education. And so that educating others through the stories of song and dance were really integral. And so my dad and by proxy of that, my mother were really influential in providing those opportunities and creating the space to allow me to explore. And as I've done different things creatively, one thing that's been a common thread is I've always done grass dancing. It's been something that I've always cared about. When I first moved to Nashville, I was heavy on the road, and so I was not dancing as much, but as the road began to wind down, I found myself eager and hungry to dance again. And so and it's come full circle to loving dancing as often as I'm afforded.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier about my uncle who used to tell us stories growing up, and And that really ignited my excitement and enjoyment of hearing stories. And kind of just until I began to have my own children, that I began to tell them not just the same stories that I'd heard growing up, but also making up stories at bedtime. And just kind of graduating. You guys have probably done some of this, right? And then to be a part of the creative storytelling, and it's made it fun all over again. So that's kind of been it for me.
Yeah. That's good choice. So Nancy.
Yes. So just to, I know I've already mentioned it before that one of the biggest influences in my life was, of course, my father, but I think it all boils back down to just having those family members that kind of helped to mold me when it come to my art. I mean, I had my aunt who she done beadwork, she made dream catchers, she does basketry, things like that. And so as a small child, always being around family that was crafting and making different arts kind of helped to steer me in that direction as well. But life sometimes gets in the way. As a teenager and as a young adult, started my family early. So I'm very fortunate now that I've raised my family and I'm retired now. So I'm able to get back into doing and focusing a lot more on my art. But one of the neat things about Cherokee, North Carolina, is we have a lot of resources here. We have, for us to be a qualified boundary or a reservation, we're very unique in that we have managed to be able to uh, start programs to help revitalize and ensure that some of these lost arts, like shell carving, is not lost. That's why I have such a passion to share my knowledge and my skill on shell carving. But one of the other things or one of the programs that we have here that I like to mention through the Ray Kinsland Leadership Institute, about 12 to 14 years ago, they started a program is called Right Path, and it's literally a mentor program where some of our older generation, our older elders, step forward and they share and they give us the knowledge, and it's passed to anyone that wants to share in gaining the cultural knowledge, like how to go out into the woods and gather plants and things for medicine or for food, food sustainability, anything like that. But with RKI, they have a program, Right Path, and a mentor program. And through the mentor program last year, I was able to work with one of our master potters here in Cherokee by the name of Tara McCoy, and also with one of our master potters who is an elder, Dean Reed. So I have managed to continue on carrying those traditions and making our pottery, as well as a couple other places. There's a small business here in Cherokee that is woman owned, and she is an enrolled member, Zozalagi. She has actually stepped up and helped me a lot when it come to mentoring me in sewing. So because of that, I in turn around and volunteer my time and my hours to our community. Each one of our community districts have a specific community center. So those that can teach do. And that's one of the things that I stepped up to help our community here in actually teaching other people how to make ribbon skirts, how to do the ribbon shirts, and how to make that period style clothing, as well as when it comes to the storytelling that I do. my father was a storyteller. He was one of the very first ones that started going to all the different colleges. He used to work at the museum here, and they were getting lots of calls wanting people to actually come out and give presentations. So he was one of our first what we call cultural specialists now, that through the museum and through his job would go out. So I'm basically just following in his footsteps and following the paths that he set as an example to me to carry on that tradition. I help to take care of him now because he is a lot older. His memory's going, but one of the most important things that him and I have been working on is he brought me a box, and in this box it was nothing but papers and notes and stories that he has written down, like on napkins and scraps of paper. And he started a notebook that he carried around with him religiously, and he would add new Cherokee words into this little notebook, translation from Cherokee to English, and the pronunciation and the way it was written, and explanations as to why it was said that way. He has a lot of our cultural dance songs in there as well. So what I've been doing is dictating a lot of those notes and those pages into my computer so that we can preserve those scraps of paper that he has used to write a lot of his information that he's collected over the years. We also have a lady here in Cherokee by the name of Kathy Littlejohn. She is a very well-known Cherokee storyteller, and she has started a small group to where we are mentoring other people to help them gain the courage to actually go out and give presentations and do storytelling, because this isn't easy to do for people. I understand Dayini earlier, she confessed that she's nervous, and I do feel that we're all nervous talking, but it also helps us to expand ourselves and show our resilience as Native American artists, that, we can overcome a little bit of that nervousness and talk to the world and talk to more than just each other about our passions and about our Native American art. So this is very important. And yeah, I'm like I said previously, I'm eager to share. So thank you guys for listening.
Dayini, would you like to share with us now?
Can y'all hear me again? So I know a lot of my inspiration comes from my grandparents. Like whenever I was growing up, I feel like I was very fortunate compared to other people around here. Like I got to grow up being around for one, like my grandpa, he was really big into stickball. Like I got to grow up around stickball, and I got to be around like traditional dancing, and I got to be around traditional singing, and then whenever I start working at the village, and I got to be around a lot of crafts. And I feel like a lot of people don't get to be they don't get the privilege of being brought up that way. So I'm very thankful that I was able to grow up with the family that I did. Like my mom, she teaches Cherokee Arts and Crafts at the high school, so she's naturally into crafting. My stepdad's into crafting. My grandpa's into stickball. My other two grandparents were into they had a business together, and they sewed crafts. So I just feel like it was just natural for me to pick up crafting, and I really enjoy it. Like it's really been a good, healthy outlet for me. And I just, I'm sorry, I just see my baby. Um, so looking back, I feel like I was always going to be someone, like ever since I was a kid, I felt like I was meant to do something for my people, and I'm still not sure what that is yet, but I'm trying to find out. I think it has to do with the language. Like I always excelled in the Cherokee language, so that's what I've been determined to do is become a Cherokee language teacher. So that's where a lot of my drive and inspiration comes from, is that I feel like I'm meant to do something with the Cherokee language for my tribe. So that's why that's what gives me my purpose. Like, that is my drive. So that's why I do the things that I do. And that's just a goal for me, is to become a Cherokee language teacher so our language doesn't die. But I would grow up and I would take Cherokee language classes and they would just recognize me. Like, I thought it was kind of cool. Like, I'd walk into Cherokee language class not knowing who it was, and it'll be an elder and they'd be like, "Shio Dayini," and I'd be like, "Oh my God, like, how cool. They know who I am." Like, I thought that was really awesome. So it was just, people knew me for like being not super knowledgeable in the language, but trying, like, giving that effort so that I could learn the language. So that's what I always found was really endearing. But I guess that's all I got. Thank you.
I love hearing all those stories about your family and that you're just surrounded by that. You grew up around that. It's really beautiful. So speaking of our art, the next question is kind of a reflection on what does it mean to create our art? Because I know as artists that we're not just putting it out there to make money. And like you guys talked about, it's not about performance. So can you guys describe to me what that act is about, like allowing the creator to flow through you? It's this energy of like giving and receiving. How would you describe this concept? Maybe the concept of creation, whether it's you, Justin, with playing a song, or for you, Trenton, as you're dancing, or you, Charles, as you're telling a story. How would you guys describe what that process is like?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I'm thinking about that on the last question a little bit, but I think for me, like we talked about, where there's this sort of like, well, I love the term life way that was used, and thinking of art and culture, whatever, these are kind of like siloed terms for really what is more like identity, or a way of being, or a way of just like being alive, right? And so yeah, I think with the flute specifically, for me, there's this aspect of it's this paradox of it's both a highly personal thing for me when I play. It's almost like prayer like for me when I play. But then there's another aspect that I kind of like have grown into, and that is elemental to the flute as well, where it's a collective experience. It's something music is this, and flute is this. It can sort of channel something that you can't put into words, I guess. You can express things with the flute when playing the flute, and when sharing it with other people, and other people are listening. It's this sort of like this, I guess the word for it would be like spirit. It's something that's beyond just like words, and it's a collective experience, like a spirit in a room or at a party, right? So it's like you can feel the vibe of something. So when I play the flute, it's sort of this, it's a way to express, or to experience things that go beyond just words, things that can't be put into words, and to channel concepts or spirits of healing primarily, I would say. And so yeah, it's I think that answers the question. Yeah.
Dancing is cathartic, and I'm a very kinesthetic person, and so I feel like I talk with my hands, I'm expressive, and so dancing is just that extra level of getting to put it into that full mind, body, spirit package. And so when I'm in that space, it forces me to be there's only one place you can be when you're listening to a song and you're trying to meet the beat and stick the landing at the end, to all of these things to it brings it all together in this way that forces the present moment. One thing that we describe in our household is this idea that you know, quality of life isn't something that is achieved from, you know, the vacations you go on or the big victories or it's how you go about your day. Your quality of life is what mealtime looks like. It's how you communicate with your friends and your family. And when those things are done with care, that's what brings quality of life. And it's being present in what we would otherwise call the mundane moments. And so even though when you go into the dance, you're going into something that's raising your heart pressure, all of these things. It becomes an expression, a physical expression of what I hear. And because I've worked with music the longest in my career as an artist, music is absolutely core to what I do. And they've done research, and there's one of my favorite books of all time is a book called This Is Your Brain on Music by Daniel Levitin. And he goes in to talk about how there's no activity in the human experience that activates more parts of the human brain than when you are listening to or creating music. And so while, you know, someone doing brain surgery is using a very focused part of their brain, when you're listening to or creating music, it illuminates and uses more parts of your brain because you've got language centers and rhythms and memory centers and all of these things and emotions that are coming together to coalesce. And it's why music is often so involved in therapy and healing. And so when I hear the drum, when I hear the song start, there becomes this outpouring that takes me back to 6-year-old learning how to dance, that takes me to the first time I stepped into the power circle, that takes me, and then it transcends beyond that into, like, as has been pointed out, thinking about my children wearing regalia, my daughter now going, Papa, make me pink dahlia, you know, how wild it is to hear her see and observe and to want to put those things on. And knowing that my participation in it is involving it points me back down to what is important. It's that daily, it's that those present moments. And so even though the dance is a big moment, so to speak, and it can feel like a performance, it can feel like like it's, a hilltop. It really can. What I want is to be this constant reminder that pushes me back into being present in whatever moment. It's whether I'm in regalia dancing or I'm at the breakfast table with my daughter.
I've heard it said that, beautifully put, I've heard it said that like ceremony for Native people, it's like how we remember to remember.
Yes.
And so that's like what you're saying. It's like this like way of remembering just it's a way to remember to remember.
Start like a reset at the same time.
Yes, and to see the sacredness in every moment. Like you said, not those big high moments and big things, but just the most precious things. Justin is my brother here, and we've lost 2 siblings, younger siblings, arms, and I think some of the most beautiful memories are just the mundane, simple things that that's when we're laughing. That's how we remember them. Sort of siblings that pass. It's through the simple things. So I love that you brought that up. That's really beautiful. Charles, how about you? What does it look like, that process for you and letting creator flow through you?
I'm reminded that the stories we tell and the ones that I've been told and been passed down, they're not my stories, right? I'm just a vehicle to deliver the stories. I'm honored to be able to do that, but I'm just a vehicle. And it's you guys do the same thing. We're just taking the stories that we've been told and passing them on. Even the stories that maybe I create as when with the kids at bedtime, all of those are influenced by other aspects in the life of people and experiences are all influencing that. So really, even those stories are not mine, right? They're out there, and I've just been fortunate to be the one who the stories kind of came through. And so I'm careful not to think I'm creating them myself, right? It's just like making yourself available. And that's probably the biggest thing is to make myself available to learn, to receive, to experience, to enjoy these daily things you're talking about. Just make yourself available to that and be ready and willing to take it and pass it on, specifically when you don't have to get credit for it all. So, yeah, so I think that's probably it.
Yeah, that's good, James. Thank you. Okay, ladies, who wants to jump in next? Nancy?
Sure, I can go. As far as like just allowing that creative process, I think for me, because I do a lot of replica pieces, museum quality replica pieces of artifacts that have been found in a lot of the different mounds in Tennessee, in North Carolina, Alabama, all this entire area. It allows the museums that commission me to do work to be able to show an actual a piece. So for me, just having that creative process flow through me in making those pieces specifically, I always take into consideration, is this a ceremonial object? Is this a burial object? Is this something that number one can be shown to the public? And if it is one of those items that I do have to be extremely cautious about, I have a tendency of changing some of it up to the design itself to be able to allow it to be shown in the capacity that or put on display or exhibit that a lot of the museums are looking for. A lot more of my modern day pieces, I will take a design that speaks to me or has a very significant meaning. Maybe the design itself like talks about specific directions, or because the Cherokee with our storytelling are very nature-based stories. So I have a tendency of carving designs that are reflective of nature itself, whether it's a depiction of the three sisters, which is our corn, our squash, and our beans, or just a ceremonial piece. Maybe it has a rattlesnake on it, or even like the hummingbird is very significant to the Cherokee people. Butterflies are very significant. The designs themselves hold meaning. And that's one of the biggest passions that I have with shell carving is I like to share the knowledge of that design and what it symbolizes to us as a Cherokee people, and share that knowledge, because if I don't continue to put it out there, there's so few of us that have the knowledge of what certain specific designs mean, then it's important that I do that. Not every tribe shares the same designs, just like our traditions, even though a lot of the traditions are going to be similar, we have very specific traditions to each individual tribe. And along with that, the designs and stuff fall in that same category. So for me, it's important to continue the education and sharing that. So yeah, that's where I draw and I allow that creative process to flow through, and it shows in a lot of the pieces that I do and that I do sell or put even on display, whether it's to an art show, whether it's to an exhibit, whether it's even just for me to take from one event to another event to display and demonstrate with. So yeah, artwork is very important to each one of us. So thank you.
There with us, would you like to answer next?
Okay.
Sonya?
Okay, I'll be glad to go next. So in everything that we're all saying is that there's this communal or effort, from those that raised us, that we have some form of influence by different people at different times of our milestones growing up. And for me, I cannot just say one person contributed to be the most influential in my lifetime. I've had so many different great people, that were elders, and they've already passed on. And now, they were preparing me, and they prepared all of us to say, one day we're not going to be here, and you have to be the next bearer. And it's not something to be boastful about. It's a burden, because if we do not appreciate and celebrate the people that invested their time to teach us who we are. And today I can say Chattasia Hoke, which means I am Choctaw. And I'm so proud to be able to say that in Choctaw, our language. And to know that in American history, as it was established in itself, the Andrew Jackson, he was not able to win the 1812 war in Louisiana without the Choctaw people's help. And in the treaties, 1830 was the most significant one for us, that it caused the majority of all the lands that we had left remaining after a series of other treaties prior to that. This treaty caused a huge divide in which the American people were ready to settle into this new state of Mississippi, which was the homeland of the Choctaw people. And it took away all of our brothers and sisters and moved them into an Indian Territory land. Today, it is named Oklahoma. And Oklahoma is actually a Choctaw word because we were moved first. And it's an unfortunate thing that, over time, the history of the Choctaw people, our stories are forgotten. And so, but we still create those major landmarks for America, and we're embedded in with America because of the fact that all these treaties that was signed between our people and the American people was to give America the sovereign status that it needed in order to stand on something that said, well, we are identified as sovereign too, against their own homeland, which was in Britain. And so today we have 575 federally recognized tribes. All of them are different in some way or another, but the matrilineal tribes, those are the ones that were raised by women being in charge. And it's not to say that they were in charge to be over the man. It was because they were considered the life provider, the life giver. And then the men being our warriors, our braves, our chiefs, we had our own path and they had their own path to walk. And so they had to be the protectors. And in our meetings, they were the ones on the outside of the meeting, the warriors, as the chief and the matrilineal clan women had to be in the center. And so if you pull back, what would you see is a circle, a sacred circle. And today, the Western Indians, they still, honor that circle through powwow. But for the tribes that are used to be matrilineal, like my tribe used to be matrilineal, we have to find other ways to share that knowledge forward. And so the influential people in my life, they taught me artwork, they taught me dance and chanting. And so I was able to learn, not just be among the dancers and we're dancing in this sacred circle. I was also able to learn the music and the song. And so I would have more of appreciation uh, of who I am, not just a performer. It's who I am because of who they were before me. And it's always showing that honor, that celebration, that love that we have for those that walked before us. And so my influential people, they taught me a lot. And now that they're not here, I'm the one that has to continue that. And there's a lot of people like me who are in that same situation. It's not just the people here that are speaking to you now. It's the people that, that's at our homes or within our communities. We're all left holding the bag because we're the ones that have to carry it. It's us or nobody. And I still see that our children are getting left behind. I still see that our young adults are getting left behind because they're trying to keep up with the world around them, that sometimes they're always, distracted. So opportunities like this gives us that motivation that we need to share with our children, near and far. And hopefully through, Naya or anyone that's helping us, we can get the message out, and that way we can preserve who we are, whether somebody's going to be watching this next year or 20 years down the road, they're going to somehow, some way come up to this opportunity to learn about their culture in one way or another. And I look forward to the opportunity to share with others. Even if you're 5 years younger than me, I'm going to call you nephew. I'm going to call you my niece because that's the way I was taught.
Yes, thank you, Sonya. You're such a wealth of knowledge. I appreciate you sharing all of that. It's really good. Dayini, would you share with us a little about your process? Also, your daughter is so dang cute. Hello to your baby.
Oh, thank you. Nalagay. Okay, so my art process has really been like, I will find something that I like. I found this cartoon and that's where my snake pot came from. I thought, like, I seen it and I was like, I can do something like that. Like, that's what I thought about that snake pot. And then I've been working on this one piece, or I've been trying to get started on it. I've had to start over a couple of times on it. But my great grandpa, his name was Will West Long, and he's known for being like the first Native American to go to Duke, I believe it was. And he made him and his son made masks, and like one of those masks, I was going to take it and I was going to like bead it. So I thought that would be really cool to do like a beaded medallion, but I don't do like the flat stitch type of beading. I do straight stitch. So I pick up one bead at a time and sew it onto the next bead, and that's how I bead. So it looks flat like little squares. Please stop. And it just it just it's a little bit different. It's more like beading on a loom, except you just don't have the loom. So that's how I do my beadwork. As far as like my baskets go, I was told by my cousin Lucille. She's got like baskets in Smithsonian. Like, she's really known for her basket making, and her sister Ramona is also known for basket weaving. And they just sat me down one day and told me, you're a Lossie, so you need to learn how to make baskets. So that's where I started to learn how to make baskets. And then I just really like get a lot of inspiration from people around me, and then like I just get ideas, like this idea that I might get, and I'm like, I want to try that out, so I'll try it out and see how it goes. And usually my execution is off, and I don't come out the way that I plan on it to come out, but it comes really, I don't know, I feel like it's like every other one is like a hit, and then the next one's going to be like kind of not great, and then the next one's gonna be amazing, and then the next one's gonna be not great, because I get kind of cocky, I'll admit that. Like I'll be thinking, oh, I'm good at pottery now, or I'm good at finger weaving now, and then like I'll rush through something. So that's what gets me. But I feel like my inspiration just comes from like people who've come before me, and the people around me, the people that I love. And I got like a lot of big name crafters that from Cherokee that have mentored me. Like my one of my good friends is named Karen George, and she does finger weaving, and I really like enjoy spending time with her and learning from her. But she has a very specific way of teaching. So I will finish one belt, and then she'll teach me the next one, and then I'll make a whole belt doing that same design. Because like if you mess up on it and you go back through and fix it and you continue on the same belt, it's going to help you learn like more than if you just do like a couple keychains. So like I have to finish a whole belt before she'll teach me the next one. So currently I'm stuck on the diamond design. So once I finish a full diamond belt, then I'll be able to move on. But until then, I just draw a lot of creativity from the people around me. Like I really get burn out, I guess you could say, from finger weaving. I get burnt out on beading, but it's just something that I do. Like it brings me comfort in a way. Like it's just something that I love to do. And even though I do get burned out on it, like I'm able to keep going with it and continue on with it. Please stop. I'm sorry. I'm trying to like get through this, and my daughter's sitting here drinking a lemonade, so I'm just trying to keep her from like turning the screen off. So I'm sorry, but thank you. I think that's what I've got to say for right now.
Thank you. Just pour lemonade. Okay, we're gonna wrap up with a couple questions, and then I'm gonna open up the space for if anyone here has questions or anybody online. But a couple of the last questions I wanted to ask you guys, what do you feel sets Native art apart from other forms of art? What is it in your mind that creates a difference, or is there?
I don't know. I mean, I think I can only speak as a Native artist, right? Like we're saying, like that's who we are. And so I wouldn't say, yeah, I don't, okay, so here's what I'm trying to say. I think a lot of Native art, in thinking specifically of the flute as it pertains to other musical art forms, and Western art forms, what's unique about Native music is this aspect similar to what Trenton was talking about, is this like present moment. And so there's like this intentional improvisational element to when we play, and how each song exists just in that time as we're playing. It's not like, oh, I'll play that song again. Like, oh, play me that one that you played last time. Okay, I'll play it for you again. It's sort of this acknowledgement or this understanding that each time we play a song, even if it may be similar, or it may be based on the same patterns or movements, that it's inherently unique each time that we're playing. So I think that's something that Native art kind of, it sets it apart from a lot of other Western or other types of music. And this relates to kind of what other people have said, this sort of like being influenced by the natural world, and how this is how reality is in many ways. It's you can't really replicate or do anything that's like perfectly put together. It's always dynamic. It's always something that's like a bird. Like for the flute, we're really heavily influenced by bird songs, and so it's like these things are dynamic and I would say like it bridges the gap between like this chaos and order where it's like harmonious. And so I think native music is that way. That aim is for it to be harmonious in this sort of blending with improvisation and being not overly controlled, but also blending with some forms of order. It much like the natural world is that harmonious blend. So yeah.
It's great. I feel that too. I feel like that's a common theme for us as Native artists, that it's not about calculation and perfection.
Yes,
It's
specificity, yeah.
expression. It's more so just, if you say kind of soul, spirit, it's a different vibe. It's not militant, it's open and flowy. How would you describe it, Trent?
I think, as someone who's really fascinated with like neurology and just the human experience in general, you know, art itself is not distinct to any one people group. You know, there's paintings from every culture, there's songs and dances and crafts from every culture. And so then what then makes it different here? I think part of what is special is where we are. You started off with the landing culture. We are American history is Native American history and vice versa. Native American history is American history. We are speaking about the original inhabitants of this continent. And so from a historical and archaeological and educational standpoint, we stand on the history of this continent. We stand on the history of the places we stand, and we represent the first peoples here. And so I think that's one thing that makes, I may not quite be answering the question, what makes Native American art different from other art, but I think one thing that makes it especially special for those of us who are creating it in this place is I'm not creating Native American art and showing it to people on a different continent. I'm showing them the history of this place every time that I get up. And even though I may have a modernized version of a regalia, the grass dance is one of the oldest dances from the Plains Native American peoples. And so in that, I am telling history when I get up and dance. And for every basket, and every painting, every story told, I think that's what is an important distinctive when talking about why it is Native American art important, especially in this place.
I'm not sure I can speak to how it's different than other cultural arts. I think it was Sonya mentioned that there's 575 different Native American federal recognized tribes in the United States today. There's a few hundred more up in Canada. Any two tribes may be as different as Japanese and Norwegian, right? So like I'm Choctaw, my wife is Lakota and Blackfoot. We say Halito in the Lakota language, you say how, and up in the Blackfoot they say Oki. So we've got all these different languages and different cultures and everything, even within our native community. So I would just say as a Choctaw man, my art is an expression of that which I've been taught my life's experience, which might even be different than other Choctaws. And I'm Oklahoma Choctaw, the Mississippi Choctaws learn it differently because we came from there, right? So they have a more of an originated form of it than what we do. We're acclimated to it. They retain their language so much better than we do in Oklahoma. So yeah, it's all experiential. And that's probably the just recognize the distinction between any two artists of any form, right? They can only express from their life experience.
In a way, if I may speak to what you're saying, one thing I've heard in the creative world when it comes to like film or music is everything's a remix. And so we are taking what we've been passed down and taught and shared, but it is important to point out the diversity in that and how we got there in the first place, because a lot of people don't even realize that pre-Columbian, Turtle Island had 140 distinct languages, not including dialects. And so, you know, there's not even that many core languages, in Europe to this day. And so that's a great way of demonstrating how diverse this continent was pre-Columbian contact. And so in that sense, like the artworks themselves, as you get into the nuances, become very important for those individual peoples.
I think too, if I may, like with the through line to what Charles is saying and what it's kind of like in a overarching way, what you're saying is like as Native people, there's like this, and maybe this is unique to the continent, maybe it's not, I don't know, but there's this like cultural humility and also like this sort of aspect of yes, we each have our own way, and even in the spiritual aspect of the ways that I've been raised by my dad and that we were raised and told him by medicine men is sort of this even with ceremony, like you always do it in your own way. That's like the one, like there's not this book that says that you did it wrong, you have to do it this one specific way. It's like really the only absolute is sort of this, what you're saying, where it's like it is individual to you. You can only speak as a Choctaw man named Charles Robinson, as all of us can. So anyways, yeah.
So definitely. Nancy, what would you like to say about this?
Yes, absolutely. The one thing that I agree with everything that's been said. The one thing that I do want to express is the fact that a lot of the Native American art or the designs specifically, it's not just our culture, it's our history. So when I say that in my shell carving, I use a lot of the designs that are found in artifacts. A lot of the artifacts that I speak of date back to even 500 BC, before Christ. So with that saying, you know, there's always been that debate back and forth, who was here first. Just because of our artwork that we do now, if it reflects anything that has been found as an artifact, that's proof right there that we are the first people. We have always been here. And that's very meaningful for us. So yeah, that to me is the one aspect that I do want to bring forward and say, regardless of what type of art you do, just like Dayini had mentioned, you know, in learning to do her finger weaving, she was mentioning like the different, the lightning design, that Karen will not teach her anything more until she finishes that one specific lightning design. And I understand that concept, the way that Karen teaches is because she wants to ensure that that knowledge that's being passed down is proficient before she moves on to the next design. Well, a lot of our designs have names, but behind those names come meanings too. So that for each one of us as a Native artist is crucial and very important that we show that in our artwork. I was fascinated. I read, I think it was on a Facebook post just the other day that some of the most famous artists, they attribute a lot of the well-known artists to anywhere from maybe 10 to 20 to even up to 100 pieces of very well-known art. But what they don't mention is the thousands of pieces that these artists have created that really never see the light of day or never really see or get that same notoriety that the 10 pieces that they're most well known for is. But when it comes to Native art, we have that notoriety regardless if it's a masterpiece or just a simple keychain that's being sold. So yeah, our art actually does have meaning. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy. Sonya, would you like to share with us?
Hi. Yes, I would. So your question earlier was, what does it mean to share your art with the world? Is that correct? Whether it's worn, displayed, or appreciated by others? Is that what you were saying earlier?
The one that we were talking about, this thing was about, how is it, how is native art? So, it's the one that we're on is about what makes native art different and how is it set apart from other arts? And they were kind
Oh,
of talking, as
yes.
individual artists, yeah, so what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So how it's set apart is that, yes, we do have the archaeological artifacts that were, uh, found in a lot of Indian mounds. Many of the tribes that live along the Mississippi River, all the way from Illinois down to Mississippi, uh, there was a huge influx of people that were considered Mississippi mound builders. And so in the Choctaw Treaty, we have a huge land on Alabama, the state of Alabama side, before there was even boundaries. This was um, mound builders areas, where we live and we shared. And one of the biggest things that was found there was, not just ceremonial, but, just different types of pottery and beautiful artwork. And so in the Dance and Rabbit Treaty for the Choctaw, writing in agreement with the United States government was that the the Moundville Museum out in Moundville, Alabama, is a part of what is considered designated uh, inheritance to the Mississippi Choctaw. Now, other tribes nearby, they have over time, also felt like they were culturally affiliated. And so as we're having to regroup and, repair ourselves, because this huge wave of people being forced to Indian territory, what we know now as Oklahoma back in the 1800s, time, has at least been kind to those who remained in their states and reestablished themselves as Indian tribes, in which, you can go to the Bureau of Indian Affairs website and you can find out, uh, all these tribes, that are listed there, and they're federally recognized on account that they have treaties with the United States government. And all of these um, Native people, they have their own cultural arts. And so there was a lot of sharing, and there was trading and bargaining. If you knew how to make Indian basket, then you would trade with somebody that's a potterer. And what that would mean is, as you're trading goods and services for one another, that network started to create, a huge network from north to east to south to west. And a lot of the Indian mounds that uncovered a lot of artifacts, you know, from this area. It went as far as up to Alaska, where we have little things that are traded, and there's arrowheads and all these great things that are people used for everyday purposes. But now today, uh, if we can replicate that, that would be wonderful, because then that's reconnecting us to our roots. And when we share that knowledge to the world, it's saying that we're rekindling what we lost. We never lost ownership of it. It was just hidden for a little bit. And a lot of the universities continue to hold more of our um, uh, items that belong to us. And we are working as much as we can, as fast as we can, to try to get them to understand that, holding on to that item might have been okay for a little while, but you need to return it to the owners, the rightful owners. And so when we share that art with the world, once we get it back and we share that to you guys, it was a lot of fights. It was a lot of, legal cases that had to um, go through the courts. And this is decades of fighting. And right now, my tribe is having to redesign a portion of labor so then they can focus on tribal historic preservation of accumulating what's being taken from us. And it's either being pushed to other tribes out of the state, in which that's not what we want. We want them to want the state that we live in to honor the tribal, sovereignty that we have, and make for sure that once we get that back, then we can, figure out how to do it ourselves, and then reconnect with that. So then once we push it out there for you guys to see, wow, this is artwork, but where did they find it? We had to fight for it. We didn't find it. We had to fight for it. And so one thing that I wanted to say on the other side of this, other side of this coin, is that some people like myself, I'm not an expert, bee person, but I do take I look at the respect of how that person wore that beads. And in this case, I have a collar necklace that my grandmother wore all her life, from, I guess it was like when she was 60 years old until she passed on. She had this one collar necklace that she would wear constantly and display it around her neck with pride. And at first, that collar necklace, when I made it, it was supposed to be for one of her little dolls. And she was teaching me how to make the Choctaw dolls using cloth. And so I was like, okay, this is great. I can learn how to make a Choctaw doll, And so it came to the part where now I had to make a collar necklace for it. And so I started rummaging around and looking at all her different beads in those little metal cookie cans that she would collect. And she would just dump everything in there, and it was just chaos. But I love chaos. So I went through, digging through, and I found an old collar necklace that my sister wore the night that she won Princess, which was back in 1980. So you can figure, that's quite that's quite old timey. So and here I was about 10 years old, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna take that necklace, and even though it's all broken up, I'm gonna reuse that in making a new collar necklace. And so I did. And when I did, I said, you know what? It's so pretty. I just got to keep going. And so my grandmother, when she had seen the first collar necklace that I had done, she didn't like it. She cut it in half, and she said, do it over, but do it right, And so I love that, simple message that carried from that time was, if you're going to do something, do it right the first time. So here I was having to repeat. And so when I made that second necklace, I was like, I like it. I really like it. And I'm going to keep going. And she never said, stop. And so when I got as the right size of a regular collar necklace, and it was beautiful, she took it from me. And then she came back and she gave me money. But I was like, hey, I didn't want the money. I wanted the necklace, So so it was an honor for me to see that my grandmother appreciated that second work that I did, that it was beautiful for her to wear it and adorn it around her neck. And so when she passed away, I couldn't find that necklace, so I could make sure she was wearing it that, for that moment. So it took a while, probably like 2 years. And then I found out that one of my sisters had taken it. And so I had to do what I had to do, bargain. And I said, I will do this for you. I'll cook for you. I'll clean for you, and I made for sure that, the bargain was right for the necklace, because I just wanted to get that back. And I did. And I had to work hard for it. I had to fight for it, but I knew I was going to get it back. And so now that I have it, it's with me constantly, by the picture that of her wearing it, And so I'll be making duplicates of it, but the original will stay intact. And I may take may take a row or two of beads from that collar necklace, but I will pass it on into the next collar necklace. And so I don't sell my beads, I give them away because it's more, it's worth more than just the dollar, you know, because it's going to stay around that person's neck. And especially if they're an elder, they will cherish that. And that to me is that if I'm sharing something with you, it's because it comes from the heart. Thank you.
Sonia, that's such a beautiful way to wrap everything up. I love how you said that, and it's completely true that it comes from the heart. I think everyone here would agree that that's how we create and express, and it's the indigenous way to create from the heart. I love that. Well, y'all, we have a little bit of time to open up the floor for some questions. I'm gonna ask our audience here, is there anybody here who has any questions for our artists?
I would like to ask Nancy Pheasant private question about if she knows the driver Pheasant.
Nancy, can you do that?
Yeah, I heard the question. He was asking if I know driver Pheasant, and actually that's my father. I'm his oldest daughter. I have two sisters. But yeah, driver is my dad.
An old friend, Curtis, says hi.
I'll let him know that. Yes.
Wow, I love that. The native world is so small. I feel like when we go to a powwow or gathering, we know somebody's uncle, grandparent, somebody. That's awesome. I love that. Anybody online, Chelsea? Does anybody have any questions online?
Not quite yet. If they want to put them in the chat. Oh, wait, we do. CK. Says I've heard a lot of mentions of both the importance of history within your art practices and also the importance of Native art being understood as dynamic and living, not just as a performed relic. How do you balance honoring the traditions of your craft with the artistic impulse to push forward and incorporate your own contemporary lived experiences?
Let me speak into that, and it's actually going to piggyback off of what Sonya was saying about her experience in creative art. How do I put this? I mentioned everything is a remix, that idea, and to unpack that a little bit, I'll share another thing that I was sharing in that context of this idea that two people can sound just like Bob Dylan and clearly have been influenced by Bob Dylan and write songs that are similar to Bob Dylan and write elements that are similar to that element, that particular style. But each of those songwriters' songs, while they may carry similar influence, at the end of the day, what's missing from the entire picture is the entirety of that artist's experience. And so these two different people may have even been taught by the same person, but they also learned they also heard other artists' songs. They also were taught other techniques. Each of those artists experienced different hurts, different pains, different victories and successes, failures in life, different traumas. And so in that, two people may write a song that sounds just like Bob Dylan, but we can dismiss it as just saying, oh, we've already heard Bob Dylan. But you don't know that artist's story, that and the community they've come from. And so you may see two different bead workers, two different dancers. They may be wearing the same type of regalia, the same type. And so to answer your question and balancing that is it really does become so intricately nuanced into that artist's lived experience. And so you're going to encounter a lot of different bead workers, and some will push deeper into a traditional pocket, and you'll have other ones that break the mold and push towards an indigenous futurism. And so I think for each artist, it becomes part of that experience about what, and their perception of that. And so I think for me, it is, with the idea of 7 generations, you're looking the 7 generations before you are the reason I'm here today. But because of that, I have a responsibility, not for what people can do for me or what are my rights, but what are my duties? What are my duties when I'm looking to the future for the next 7 generations? How am I taking care of the generation that comes after me? But in the same vein, I'm also taking care of those that came before me, that brought me here. And so it comes down to how it was taught to you and who taught you and why you were taught the way. There's a Blackfeet way of learning. It's very similar to what Sonya described, which was a father brought his son out onto the lake to teach him how to control the boat. And this is a more modern story using indigenous Blackfeet philosophy for teaching. And as the young man is steering his boat, he's clearly headed towards a rock. He clearly is heading towards something that will threaten the structural integrity of the boat that they're in. But the father does not tell his son, watch out for those rocks. In fact, it took hitting those rocks for him to then say, what did I do? And so it was in the experience, it was creating that beadwork particularly incorrectly and having it cut in half and being told to do it right. That informed Sonya's experience in that. And so I've often battled between continuing modernizing my regalia and reverting back to more traditional ideas. And I think it is a constant challenge because there is an honor and a future, but I think that's part of that tension that you described is necessary for the creation of art, because in that medicine wheel, in the circle is a complete idea. And so even where you start, you're coming back to an end in the end. So everywhere you start will come to an end, but that end is then the start again when you're looking at the philosophy of the circle. And so even if you modernize your ideas, you're still honoring and continuing tradition. And even if you continue to push backwards, you're protecting what's behind for the future. And so it really is an inverse relationship that I don't feel like you can necessarily take the wrong route.
Yeah, but you're like decentering yourself by doing that, and that's sort of the good, in that good way.
Yes.
You're looking forward and backward. And that's dude. I can't wait to read this. It's not just like it's like a decentering of the self. This is like the way to mess it up would be to be like, oh, it's about me and I'm gonna do this thing. It's like, it's like what Charles was saying. It's like, and everybody was saying, it's like there's this communal aspect. And so, sorry about that.
Yeah, just if you wanna wrap this up,
Oh, I'm good.
Well, I think that's a great way to end it, and it will just keep people hungry for more, because we have more of these webinars coming up, so we'd love for you guys to come to those events. For those of you online, we can keep you informed with dates. For those of you here, we do have suppliers if you want to take all the dates coming up. I want to say thank you to all of our artisans. Thank you to each one of you for being here and being a part of this conversation. We did have a couple people have to leave early, but I'm so grateful for our artisans. Thank you to Vanderbilt and the Student Center for Social Justice for hosting us here. Thank you so much for letting us use your multicultural space. Thank you to everyone that's and thank you to everybody on staff at NEI who helped get this all together. Really grateful. And we hope to see you at our next event. So thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your night. See you next time.